For cheap gold, items and other boosts for Diablo 4, visit aoeah.com. Check out the link in the description, you get 3% off with the code ARIAD. Hello and welcome everybody. In this video, I present the high-end version of my Quill Volley build, which can start pushing pits to the limit, thanks to trillions of damage. I'm not even at the limit yet, as I've only optimized the masterworks on the most important pieces, and some affixes and aspects still could be better, but I didn't want to wait any longer to share the video. The endgame versions from my last guide are still valid, because they are very cheap to build, and perform very well. T4 bosses die in a second, as does the High Council at the end of the Hordes. You can run level 100 pits quite quickly, and 110 is doable as well. I finally swapped out the Moonrise aspect and played with both redirected force and unyielding hits. I optimized my gear to reach 5000 armor and managed to crack 1 trillion damage with Harlequin Crest and T-Balls, even hitting 900 billions in a pit boss fight. So you certainly can be satisfied with the endgame version. The unique items are very easy to farm and you don't need to roll or tamper them. Building the high-end version is much more effort, as you'll see on my gear. As always, I will show you the full setup and explain the key points to make you understand how everything works and where the high damage comes from. Let's go! The skill tree remains mostly the same, but I've switched a few passive skills. We are definitely playing Surge again, which allows us to deal more damage to crowd-controlled enemies and puts fear on enemies, triggering the aspect of apprehension to add extra damage. Your vigor generation also increases after use. The Spirit Hall's choice remains unchanged, Jaguar on top, Gorilla below. Jaguar will provide our damage peaks because it accumulates damage and releases it in a single burst, a little bit similar to the Black Malignant Heart from Season 1. In the Paragon system, we use the same boards as before, but 2 glyphs are new. Outmatch replaces Menagerist and Ritual replaces Spirit. Ritual is very powerful because the glyph essentially provides 3 multiplicative damage increases. The potency for mystical circles will also be incredibly effective. You can check out the whole Paragon system, but you will also find a planner link in the description below. Now the gear. We take a helmet with maximum resource and life. Resistances or armor are useful as well. We aim for 1000 armor and full resistances in T4. We temper barrier generation and extra stacks of resolve, as these will provide both damage reduction and damage. I'll explain more about that shortly. The chest piece is the Shroud of False Death, as it adds +1 to all passive skills. Alternatively, you can use a legendary chest, and instead of resolve, you could also add extra ranks to resilience by the temper recipes. This will add more life, increasing the barrier and boosting the damage. This is why we also play the runeword Pokke or optionally Litke. In combat, we want to have 100% uptime on the Earthen Bulwark for more barrier. Moving on to pants and gloves, I got some incredibly nice base items here, but that's not too important. Significant are the tempers and aspects. On the pants, we also add max resolve and barrier generation, on the gloves potency for mystical circles and vortex size. The affix resource on Lucky Hit is necessary to do without the Ring of the Midnight Sun. We already know the aspect of redirected force from the last video, but it turns out to be buggy. You can overstack your block chance. Using Armored Hide, we get +100% block chance, and with the aspect of Interdiction, we gain up to 15% per stack of resolve. Considering that we play with up to 40 stacks of resolve, depending on the chest plate, that's quite a lot. And every time we activate Armored Hide, the resolve stacks fully replenish. So we add about plus 600 to 700% block chance, which of course doesn't make sense for blocking. That's why it is capped at 100% in the statistics. But the damage calculation for the aspect of redirected force happens just before. So the 600 to 700% is used in the calculation, and this bonus is even doubled after blocking. This is why the combination of redirected force, interdiction and high resolve stacks is so powerful. The glyph colossal scales on our resolve as well, so we are hitting two birds with one stone. In the end, Armored Hide is not only a defensive buff, but also our strongest offensive buff. I'm still missing a perfect duelist aspect on my boots. Max roll aspects are very rare in the new meta and are highly asked for. You can get 4 to 5 billion gold in trade for popular max roll aspects. I've socketed the rune word Xol into my staff because increasing max life also increases the barrier we stack for the Paragon node Viscous Shield. We are still using the talisman, but the Ring of the Midnight Sun comes out as soon as you can manage your resources without it. Instead, the aspect of Moonrise is back, and we can roll additional resource generation and cost reduction onto it. On the second ring, we play the aspect of Plains Power, which casts mystical circles as an additional damage multiplier. On the rings, I prioritize life, attack speed and cost reduction. And for the temper affixes, potency of mystical circles is important. As I mentioned earlier, the masterworkings on my jewelry and weapon aren't optimized yet, but in the planner you can see the way I would like to have it. My Spiritborn finally reaches 1000 armor and full resistances without needing elixirs or incenses. You can also optimize your armor in the Paragon system by adding or removing nodes. To squeeze out maximum damage, I use the max life elixir and the 2 incenses Choirs of War and Redemin bus. If your gear isn't finished yet, you may also need the incenses for resistance or armor, and if you don't hit 275 maximum vigor, you can use the elixir of resourcefulness. My build has 285 vigor, and in combat I have about 30,000 life and barrier. With the Shroud of False Death, I have 32 stacks of resolve. With the legendary armor, you can get more than 40, or alternatively additional barrier by extra ranks in resilience. The build is permanently unstoppable and produces extremely high damage spikes. Even higher hits are possible when optimizing everything. The highest damage occurs when all buffs are active at once, and thanks to the key passive Prodigy's tempo, we quickly get back the cooldowns. Best is to pull monsters with Vortex, cast Surge and then activate both buffs, Ravager and Armored Hide, followed by the ultimate. I wish you a lot of fun with the build, take care and may the loot be with you.
Follow me. Thanks. Goodbye.